stage. You all made it in one piece. Alex, I'll start with you. Now, you've got you've had a very decorated career, but you seem to have made that very smooth transition from playing to being a broadcaster. Now, when was the moment you actually thought, you know what, this is what I want to do? I want to get into the media.
I actually think I spent 3 years playing in America, and then the league folded over there. And then I came back and I actually sat down. I was actually just saw him earlier, Matthew Buck from the PFA. I remember going to meet him at his office. And I think then I had a clear path that I already knew back in 2012 that I was thinking about life after football. Because I was always worried, like I've had this drive and this ambition to always make it at the top as a footballer, but I was like, when that comes to an end, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to pay my mortgage? There's always been that worry for me. So back then I was sitting down with him and I knew I didn't want to go into coaching. Yanks will tell her story after. She's always been in schools coaching and everything. But I knew people were trying to push me down that path, but it just wasn't me. I didn't have the passion for that. But then I knew I loved talking with people, interviewing people. And then so I remember sitting down with Matt and I knew that was the direction that I wanted to go into. And same with your guys' stories. For me, finding a way, it was knocking on doors and presenting them things that I could possibly do different to what was kind of already out there.
Did you find it difficult making that transition from playing and then obviously speaking in front of, I don't know, millions? Because it's a different skill set.
And were you nervous when you first started? You don't appear to be nervous, but I know what it's like when you first doing live television. Inside, you're kind of swimming away, but you're keeping it cool on the outside, hopefully.
That's what we're doing right now. Yeah.
I think for me, I've been lucky because a lot of my sport situations has helped me into my TV. So when I'm playing in big arenas, I've always had that thing. Some players get nervous and sometimes nerves are good, but I've always had the excitement. Yanks will tell you I'll be the one playing the music, dancing in the changing room and everything, because I just can't wait to get out on the pitch. So 90,000 people there. I'm like, this is what I've trained for my whole life. So when that moment comes, why am I going to put all these extra pressures on me and then just fail at the last minute? So I think it's the same with TV. Yeah. I'm enjoying it, I enjoy the buzz, and then as soon as it's live TV, I'm like, okay, let's bring this on, I'm ready to go, I enjoy it.
So you've done, I've got it all here, match of the day, final score, Super Sunday, you're obviously working with us now as well, goals on Sunday, Mission Survive with Bear Grylls, you've been Strictly Come Dancing as well. Is there anything you can't do, and what's next?
Do you know, I do feel that I'm lucky and I'm blessed, but at the same time, we was just talking before, that it's been hard. So the thing is, people see the end result. They see me on TV, they see me having fun, but they actually haven't seen from 2012 me going and do, even Troy will tell you, I did a London Live, and that was kind of my first live TV. I wasn't even getting paid or doing anything, but I knew those were the opportunities that I was working hard. I knew I had to do that to then get to where I want to be. And I think sometimes that's the lessons that we need to take. Sometimes it takes doing a lot of stuff, knocking on doors, and doing the stuff, the early mornings and stuff for free, because then it opens other opportunities and other doors.
That's right. I mean, I don't know about you, Henry, but I get lots of people asking me, you know, how do I become a journalist? How do I work in media? I love football. I want your job. And then I'll kind of go through the stages that I went through. It took me 10, 15 years before I was even put in front of a camera. And, you know, I say to them, try and learn new skill sets, get a YouTube channel, write a blog, do blah, 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 blah. And then they'll go, well, that sounds a bit long. And I'm like, but that's what it takes. You're not going to get these things overnight, are you?
It takes a long time. There are absolutely no shortcuts. Everyone here, you know, we've been doing this for a few years, and every mentee we talk to, the first point is just, well, first go through your social media things just to make sure, because, I mean, we've taken on some people at work, and if there's a 50-50 between a candidate, we will go back through their social media output just to see if there's anything there, a picture posted at the wrong time, you think something that they've said, and actually that will lose your job. So, I mean, if there's one thing I know that I'll be telling all the mentees when I talk to them today, go back through your social media, check there's nothing there that could damage you when you're going for a job. Other things like, it's just hard work. I mean, I've got the job now that I wanted when I was 13. So school and university and all that was fun, but for me it was just in the holidays walking up and down Fleet Street as what knocking on doors. I had no connections in the industry and trying to persuade a sports news agency to take me on to write match reports, go and plug in phones at Millwall, getting kicked by journalists as I went under their feet plugging old phones in. Now, of course, everyone's got a mobile phone. So, I mean, the generation, you are so fortunate that you can go and file, you can blog, you can contact journalists. I probably get about 5-10 budding journalists a week contacting me on social media. So that is huge. And just don't hold back. We're in the communications industry. Any job that you're going to do is about communication, getting through to people, hitting the phones, knocking on doors. But you knock on doors digitally nowadays through social media, sending me blogs and things like that. So, but there's no shortcuts. It's all hard work.
Well, Henry, you are an experienced journalist and you've seen it all. Have you had to make any, work transitions, or have you learned any new skills? Because everything is changing. The game is changing every day.
It is absolutely changing every day. And the technological explosion, plus also the explosion in broadcasting rights, is just huge. There are games, there are stories. You look at Manchester City winning the trophy while Pep was on the golf course yesterday. Immediately, you just see what's trending. Obviously, West Brom, Darren Moore, Jose Mourinho's reaction. Social media now is huge. I work in print, I write, do a bit of television and radio, but social media has completely transformed our industry in terms of the immediacy. If I want to contact a player, if I didn't have his mobile phone number, I can probably get hold of him through a DM, through Twitter nowadays. That wasn't happening 10, 15 years ago. The contact, I think, between football supporters and players as well. Again, everyone thinks they live in these sort of, beautiful houses. I'm writing a book with a Manchester United player at the moment. But you can contact him on social media. That has completely changed the game. I think it's, in a strange way, social media, and we talk about the trolls and everything, it's brought a lot of people closer together. Certainly in terms of career pathways. You can contact journalists, you can contact coaches and footballers to say, I'm a budding young player, I want to sort of do this in the game, or I'm a budding young journalist. So social media completely has done it. But if Alex and Rachael have great moments in their careers, the first thing I will do as a journalist in that match, I will go and look at the reaction on social media, I will look at the things that they've posted. So social media is just, in terms of transition, in terms of transforming the sports journalism industry, it's changed it beyond recognition.
Football itself has exploded, hasn't it? Especially in this country, you talked about that explosion. But what it means is that everybody now wants to work in football, don't they? So there are probably more jobs that have been created, but it's very difficult to get into the industry, and you really need to set yourself apart. What advice would you give to these guys here? What should they be doing to carve out their own niche, if you like?
The traditional route is obviously getting a CV and working on your CV. For me, far more importantly, as a journalist, I want to see how you can blog, how you can write, how you communicate. I can tell probably within the first 100 words if someone's really good on social media. There's a kid who supports Stoke who's got a fantastic blog, and I've been following him since he was 16, 17, 18 years old, because he will go right to the top, because he's fantastic. He's got no connections in the game apart from being a mad Stoke fan. So blog. CVs are really nice, but I don't want to know whether you went go-karting at 12. I just want to know whether you can write, and I can tell that with a good blog.
You've been looking at my Instagram.
I'm joking. Henry's point as well, because I think what the important thing is what makes you different to what's already out there.
Exactly.
And I remember I used to do a lot of stuff with FATV, because I remember seeing the interviews that they were doing, and I'm like, geez, that's boring. And then so I used to go to the TV guy, and I used to be like, can I interview a player? And really that's how it started, me having fun and getting a different reaction. And then people wanted to see that more to your standard interview. So what sets you apart from what's already out there as well?
Okay. Rachel, I want to bring you into this as well. You are running football schools alongside your playing career, and you also have a new TV kids show out as well. Can you just tell us how you juggle all of those commitments?
Yeah, good question. I've kind of always done it. When I was 16 years old, I joined Arsenal Football Club, but I also joined Arsenal not only as a player, as a YTS, so a YTS in coaching. So I learned how to go out to schools and coach football. So I kind of saw my life as football was my hobby, rather than a career to make money. And I just did it because I enjoyed it. It wasn't, you know, back then footballers weren't paid. I think we even paid subs to play for Arsenal. So it wasn't something that I thought, at the end of the day, I'm going to be a footballer. I still saw myself as I need a job. What do I enjoy doing? I enjoyed working with kids. I enjoyed going to schools. So the whole way through my football career, I've always gone into primary schools. I've worked with some fantastic players. Some have gone on to really do wonderful things in football, play for some of the best teams and for the country. Some have just made new friends in football, and I think that's the beauty of sport, is that you can take it to wherever you want to take it, and you can learn so many different life skills. And I've definitely enjoyed, you know, the coaching side of it and the playing side of it. Perhaps people don't know me for the coaching side, but I've always made sure that when I've gone out on a Sunday, I've wanted to play well, because Monday morning when I go into the school, kids can be ruthless.
I always found this intriguing when it comes to players as well, but when's the moment, and this is for all three of you, when was the moment you start to think, you know what, I've got to start thinking beyond my playing career?
Like I said, I've always coached, and perhaps wrongly, but when I started in women's football wasn't big. Women's football was more of a hobby. It wasn't something that you thought that you were going to go and make a load of money and become rich and famous. That was never my aim. My aim was to go out there and play, and just to enjoy. So really, my mindset from day dot has always been get a job, and I've got a job, and I started off my own coaching company, going into different primary schools in Brent, where I grew up, and obviously opportunities have come, like Footy Pups, the opportunity. I'm not an actress, I don't know how to do that.
And you were on Sky Sports News last week as well, watching Arsenal.
I know.
A few more strings to your bow.
Oh my God, I went grey and everything. But it's just been fun. I think opportunities have come because of football, but I've always seen it as that I needed a career and a job.
But they do say if you do something you love, then it's not work, is it, Michael? Is that what you've found since you retired as well? But you've gone down a different route. What's your transition been like for people here who might not know?
First of all, good morning, everyone. My transition's been an interesting one. I retired 7 years ago now, and at first the thought process as a player is I've got to get straight into coaching and management. But sometimes life doesn't work like that. You know, 18s, I've done the 23s, but just couldn't quite elevate towards actually getting a management position.
Why do you think that was?
I think there's a lot of things. Obviously, there's historical stories and issues around black managers. There's no getting away from that, and it was great yesterday if anybody watched the game Man United West Brom to see Darren Moore, which has been very influential and inspirational story that. But I just chose to go down a completely different route. I set up, I think Leon Mann's here, we set up the Sports People's Think Tank, which was very successful. Then we went on to do the on-board course, which the PFA have now took to another level. And it just started to go into the administrational side of the game. So after getting all my qualifications as a coach, I now work in the administrational part of the game. Would I ever look to dip back in? Of course, if the opportunity's there, but I'm very comfortable where I am at the moment.
So what do you do on a day-to-day basis? I know you're a club ambassador for Derby County. What's it like being in the boardrooms?
It's great. My position as an ambassador, as an advisor at Derby is an interesting one. Well, I left Cardiff under 23s about 2 years ago, and I wasn't quite sure. I went back to my old club Derby as the former captain there, and they only said to me, look, we could do with some advice around the ground. First of all, would you love to come back as an ambassador, part-time work? So I took it on a match day, did half a day in the week, and then that transpired to something else, to see the way that you work, the way that you conduct yourself. And he said, look, I'd love for you to come and give us some advice at the leadership level of the club. So it was great for me to go into that advisory role as a club ambassador. And since then, obviously, now what I've done is made sure that I'm educating myself. So I'm on a sporting degree course at Manchester University, And I've also been fortunate to enroll on the UEFA Masters in Sport degree. And what I would say, no matter what level it is that you've got to be in a position where opportunity meets education. You can't just sit there and wait for the opportunity to come. What are you doing on a daily basis to make sure that when the opportunity comes, you're ready to take it? But also to be authentic to yourself. I think Scotty was just saying, Alex was just saying. So about, what she wants to do when she wants to interview sports people. And I think it's great, but you've got to be authentic. You've got to be true to who you are. And I think that is so important about being you. Be comfortable with you and believe in you.
How challenging is it going into boardrooms, learning new skills, getting that education as well? I mean, I still have nightmares about my final year dissertation that I haven't handed it in. Yeah. So I know how stressful it can be, especially as a mature student.
I think for me, it was very daunting at first. And I'm going to be open and honest here. I think literally 10, 12 years ago, if you were ethnicity, if you was a woman, you weren't allowed into boardrooms. That's how times...
Yeah. Or players' tunnels.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed in the tunnel when I was first at Sky.
So, and even my first year actually entering in boardrooms, it was quite interesting. As part of the leadership team, everybody else would walk through and you'd always get the old, have you got your pass? Which was quite interesting. Times now moved on, and I think the stigma now has been broken down, even though there's still elements of that in the game. But I think the way that you can conduct yourself, and I think the governance course especially, allowed me to have conversations at boardroom level, which then entice people to say, he actually knows what he's talking about. So there's an whole education piece around that as well.
I just want to add, do you feel like you are actually getting support from the governing bodies as well, now that you have switched into more of a boardroom level? Do you feel like you're getting that?
I wouldn't say the support's there. I think there's always opportunities. Governing bodies always want to tap into your experience to try and help others come through. But I think the support, what you bang on, the support about how do you transition from a former player into a boardroom as a chief exec, as a secretary, it's severely lacking. We don't see many former players go into those sort of positions because there's not anything really out there that defines this is what you have to do. And this is the stigma about breaking, oh, it's my mate. Because sometimes your mate's not the best one for the role. The one that's most qualified should get the position, whether that's somebody that's black, Asian, woman, whoever it may be. If you're the best person for the role, and that's why I think the governing bodies need to do more to define what does an actual chief executive need to be interviewed for that role.
Okay. Any more questions?
No, but I think we're going to open it out to the floor, aren't we, with the hashtag RYG18. If you've got any questions that you'd like to ask our panel.
I think Henry and Michael, are you mentoring today as well? So, no. Okay, so these guys are mentoring today, but if you do want to ask Rachel or Alex any questions, now's the
Henry,
time.
you've been a mentor here for the past few years, I think. Tell them what they need to expect. Tell them how to prepare themselves to have a good, successful day here and to really take something away from today.
I think the fact that it gets bigger and bigger every year, it seems to sort of gain another sort of 10, 15 yards. I mean, it's fantastic what Troy's doing here. I mean, I tweeted about it last night and just said, this event will change lives. And it will. 5, 10, maybe more people in this room will build up a relationship with the mentor, will get contacts. I mean, I made sure I bought loads of business cards because particularly in my industry, communication industry, media industry, it's all about communication, it's all about contacts, it's all about, the people I will talk to, I will try and guide you in the direction of which media organisations are particularly helpful for people starting out and which doors actually it takes a little bit longer to batter your way through. But this will change your life, absolutely guarantee. I mean, I'm still in contact with probably about 2 or 3 mentees from every year. I'm sure we're all exactly the same, probably more with you in your specific industries. Just to sort of, it's not just to keep in contact, just to see how they're doing. But this does work because you can see people and it's great. And I tell them, I said, listen, put me out of a job. But that's what I want. That's what I want. That
You're looking for that
pressure.
retirement, that early
Okay, someone
retirement,
take Henry's
Henry.
job.
No,
basically.
I want talent to come through, because that's one thing we've had a problem with in football. And Michael's point about boardrooms is completely right. We've got all this playing talent, particularly. It's not being reflected at the top of the FA and in many of the boardrooms in this country. But absolutely, put me out of a job. That's what today's about.
Alex, would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I was just going to take it as well, because you were saying about the communication thing, and then you were saying about sometimes surrounding yourself with your mates. I think a huge thing, especially in this business and going forward, is to seek that feedback. And sometimes it's not a criticism, but it's knowing what you can improve on to be better next time. So sometimes it's not necessarily going to your mate for that, oh yeah, you were great, but going to seek that honest opinion of how you can improve and get better.
Michael, what advice would you give to the people here today who are going to be, seeking to get into this industry, and perhaps in your area as well, at boardroom level? Is it getting any easier for people like the people we're seeing here today?
I think there is, because we all know the landscape of sport is changing so fast and so quickly. My advice would be, don't be afraid to approach anybody. That's something that I've learned. I learned the hard way. I'll tell you a quick story. I love telling stories. We played against Arsenal one year, and Thierry Henry played, and we got beat 4-0, and he was electric. And he was my favourite player at the time, and it kind of changed my life, this moment. I had an opportunity to go and ask for his shirt, but I didn't ask for it because we got beat 4-0. And at the time, the manager was Steve Bruce, and he's a ferocious character. And just as the whistle blew, I ran across to him, but I didn't ask for his shirt. And he walked down the tunnel, and I was absolutely gutted. And I got in the change rooms, and I was more concerned about I didn't ask for his shirt rather than Steve Bruce. And that's a once in a lifetime chance, because I'd never get that close to him again to ask for his shirt. But what it taught me was that you have opportunities in life when you meet people to take advantage of it, no matter where you think they are in their levels. So don't care who's in here, go and ask them. The worst thing that they can say to you is they might not be able to help, and I'm sure they won't be rude. But going back to your question, please just get yourself as educated and keep moving. You've got to keep moving. We've all spoken about what makes you different. And the minute that you stand still, people will go past you. So it's important that you keep looking for the next level of qualification. And this is what I mean about the opportunity will meet education if you continue to keep moving.
But you'd be all right now, because they swap shirts at half time these days, don't they?
I can't get my breath with that. I cannot imagine a manager. What would a manager say if you're getting beaten? You're more concerned about swapping shirts at half time, eh? The Yankees say you're not getting another game.
Okay, we have two questions from the mentees. First one is from Tosin. For a woman, especially a dark-skinned woman, football hasn't been the most welcoming sport. What advice would you give to someone wanting to get into the football business? I'll direct that question to you two ladies, and then if you could jump in after.
I think it's about breaking down barriers, and it's about making a change. If you don't feel that you're being accepted, like Michael's just said, go and make yourself accepted. Go in, it's about you not going, okay, and sitting back. Actually go there and keep banging down those doors and keep making yourself heard, because at some point, people have to change. The world's always changing. And you may have something that somebody else hasn't thought of and be able to give the sport a different outlook.
Yeah, I totally agree with Yanks. I think it's being brave as well, having that courage to believe in yourself. It's funny enough, Bianca, you said about how you started at Sky being a runner. I remember I did a degree through the PFA because I didn't want to give people excuses. I didn't want people to see my transition from football, and I'm only getting these opportunities in the media because, Alex Scott played football. So I actually went and did a degree through the PFA on a media course, so then people can be like, see, actually, she backed it up. She actually does know. She educated herself as well. So I was brave enough to do that. And I remember going in to Sky on my work placement. And then I remember getting some feedback was like, you don't have the right speech, how you talk, where you're from. Don't know if you're really going to make it. And I was like, wow. But then that's the thing. I knew that there wasn't many people like me on TV. I'm from East London. I'm very proud of where I grew up. My
Tell me
mum,
about
my
it.
generation. Yeah.
Got the same accent.
But that could have easily been the opportunity for me to feel sorry for myself and say, okay, yeah, I won't do this anymore. But I wanted to show that person, no, actually, I am going to make it. And then now it's funny, full circle, that I'm actually doing Super Sundays on Sky. So I've not seen that person again. But
No,
Well, I had a work experience job at the BBC when I was about 16, and someone did actually say to me, Bianca, darling, if you ever want a career in this industry, you need to get rid of that accent. And it made me feel really indignant. I was kind of like, but why?
they've got a big thing about accents because
You
I've
can
got
ha-
a, no,
there
I've
are
got a
certain
Brummie accent.
accents you can get away with.
But they said,
You
I
can't be a
remember-
strong Brummie.
You can't be a strong Brummie.
You can't.
No, you've got to get rid of
and
that.
you can't be a Cockney
And you have to
either.
enunciate, so you have to enunciate as well.
Exactly.
Going back to Tosin's original question, what she mentioned about being a dark-skinned black woman, it's, for me personally, I was in Sky Sports News for a few years, and again, going back to the original point, I didn't see a lot of women like me. So yes, I am dark-skinned, I am black. It's quite intimidating, and the point that you guys made about being brave, you bang on with that, but it's a very different thing when you are surrounded by people who really don't look like you or sound like you. So yes, you really do have to push through. You have to be better. You have to make sure that you have the knowledge. And, you know, I did elocution lessons. I did all of that because they said, Samantha, you have a terrible habit of making all of your words into one word. So it wasn't necessarily the accent thing, it was my enunciation. But yes, I think you really do have to push through, and you do have to be that first person to do it. So if I just sat back and thought, right, they really don't want me to be around because I'm not blonde, I'm not white, I'm not light-skinned, or whatever, I wouldn't be here today. You really do have to have that bloody-mindedness that all of us have on this stage. But yeah, sorry.
Absolutely. I think that's...
Is that wrapping up?
Yeah, I think we're wrapping.
I think we're wrapping up.
So I hope you've enjoyed listening to the panel. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you.